Alyssa.
And Ryan.
Yes, we just got engaged. We are going to get married on October 11th of 2014.
We actually, it's kind of funny because every time somebody asks us how we met, we always kind of like look at each other and like laugh, like which one's going to tell them. But we met actually online on StJoeWedding.com, and we were just kind of out there like seeing what would happen, and then we wouldn't have met each other otherwise because she lives 3 hours away from me, and it just worked out to where God had a hand in us being able to meet each other, and it's been cool to see how he's played such a big part in our relationship. So
we have been dating about 9 months, a little over 9 months now. So I think we were both at this stage in life where like we were ready to like move on to the next step and find a spouse. And so there were many interesting people on the site and some nice people. But I think that just, you can read profiles and stuff ahead of time. And he just seemed like the type of person that I wanted to be with. He wasn't, I don't know, over the top. It wasn't like shady. I don't know how else to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so we just kind of, but once we started talking, we didn't really hold back. Like, we dug into some really deep topics right away, and that way we could find out for sure if it's even worth pursuing because there was such a distance. So.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that's interesting about online dating is actually it's kind of nice because you have the opportunity to screen people before you commit to anything. Whereas if you're meeting someone for the first time, or you go on a blind date, or you meet them somewhere, or or if you're at a restaurant or some public place and you see someone and you think, oh, that person's attractive, that's obviously usually the first thing you notice about a person. Well, then it's like, are they single or are they not, or should I try to talk to them? Are they trying to do the same thing I'm doing? And then it's just all this stuff you have to go through. Whereas online, if you're on a dating site, you'd think the probability is the person's looking to find someone that they want to date or start a relationship with. So you have that out of the way. But then you have the opportunity to read a lot about them depending on how much they put on their profile and things like that. And it's really helpful to be able to say, yeah, this looks like someone I might like to get to know. And then you have the opportunity to get to know them if they would like to or whatever. And, have conversation and figure out how far you need to go from there. So.
Our first date was 7 hours long because, he talks a lot, and I thought I talked a lot, but if you know Ryan, he talks a lot too. Mm-hmm. So we were just going to go miniature golfing and maybe go to dinner, but ended up miniature golfing and then Starbucks for several hours and then dinner for several hours, and there was...
Mini golf didn't take as long as we thought it was going to, so we had to kill some time
really
before
good,
dinner.
So.
Yeah, we're really good at it.
I think too that, I don't know, it's always been super easy with us talking. There's never, but also I think it's important that you're comfortable not talking. And so at the beginning, there's always something to talk about, but I love that now it's not like an uncomfortable silence if we ever just are doing our own thing.
Mm-hmm. So. And that took some getting used to for me because I think typically in any past relationships, if you weren't talking to each other, it meant that somebody was upset about something or something was wrong. And one thing on Alyssa's profile on Christian Mingle was that she wanted someone that she could talk with, but she wanted someone that she could be silent with as well. And I thought, that's really cool because, you have that expectation ahead of time, or you have that understanding that just because you're not having a conversation right then at that moment doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. It just means that there's a time where I need alone time and a time that she needs alone time, and we're okay with that, and it's completely necessary to have that. So that was good too. Well, I got a ring and I got down it. No, we had actually we went and looked at rings. Well, let's see, how did this go? Hold on a minute.
The story he knows and the story that I know is very different.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I did behind the scenes and always felt very weird about because I don't like to, I wouldn't want to keep anything from her and I wouldn't want to hide anything from her. I don't want to have secrets or lie or anything like that. But I did kind of have to do some of that to get this done. And so went to Shane Company and went there with my family the first time, I think, and Alyssa wasn't with me. I don't remember now, but went there and knew that there was a ring that she had liked that she found online on their website. And so I took either the picture of the ring on my phone on the website or something like that, and I showed it to a guy named Michael, who ended up being the jeweler that I worked with the whole time. And he said, yeah, well, we have this ring, but it's not here at our store, but we can get it shipped in. It was in like St. Louis or something at the time, and they're in Overland Park. And so he had it shipped in. I told him that I wanted to bring her down like that weekend, but I didn't know how long it would take. He said it would only take 2 or 3 days. So we had this ring shipped in. He also had another one there at the store that was similar to it. And so he had both of those for us to look at, ready to look at that day. Well, he and I had been emailing back and forth to say, he's told me, yeah, that it's here now, so whenever you guys want to come down, and I let him know when we would be there. I told him that I would ask for him whenever I got there, because I had supposedly talked to him on the phone about what their hours were and things like that. So whenever I got there, it actually worked out that he remembered me because we had met the time before, but he wasn't with a customer at the time, so he was able to just jump in with us, and I introduced him to Alyssa and acted like I just met him for the first time and said, how we talked on the phone about when you guys were open, and you said to ask for you whenever I got here, which is completely untrue, but we both had that understanding. So she looked at the rings, and she liked the one that she had picked out, and so he and I actually, he had her go off. And
he sent me away so they could chat.
Yeah. So,
I was suspicious.
Yeah, and he had told me that he could do that before we got there, but I didn't want that to happen. I told him not to do that, but he did it anyways, which is fine. Worked out, and then, put a down payment on it and everything, and then we left that day. And then she was all worried because she was like, the way that the Shane Company does things is like everything's a limited time, so they may not have it for very long, but or once they sell it, they're not going to have another one of it. So she was worried that somebody was going to get this ring because she didn't know that I had paid for it to hold on to it.
I know it's not all about the ring, but I really like my ring.
yeah, and so I couldn't tell her, well, I already took care of it, but I had to be like, just don't worry about it, I'll take care of it, it'll be fine, until she would stop worrying about it. And so anyways, I went down after that with my family one more time and not with Alyssa, and we actually finished paying for it, and then they had sent it off to be resized. And so whenever it finally came in, it was going to be like 6 or 7 weeks, otherwise I would have proposed sooner, but it was going to be like 6 or 7 weeks before it came in. Well, once it finally came in, I had it for maybe a week before we could go, and I didn't really think of anything extravagant to propose because I was just excited to do it, and I knew she'd been waiting and I'd been waiting, and I just wanted to get it done, And so we went to Legends down at Kansas City, down by Kansas Speedway. We'd been down there once or twice before. I think we saw a movie down there. And I just really liked that place, and they have a big fountain down there. The fountain wasn't running huge whenever we were there, but it was still, there was some little fountains going, and so I had my sister beforehand told her that she needed to record it with her phone. I told them that we would walk up to the fountain, and then they could veer off and say, oh, we're going to go down here, and we'll say, okay, well, we'll go over here. And while they were kind of out of the picture, Dana could get her video camera out on her phone and record us, and I would stop and propose to Alyssa, and so that's kind of what I did. And then she said yes. And then we were engaged.
He kept talking about behind the fountain is the movie theater, and he kept saying, well, let's go see what movies are playing. And we were with his whole family, so I was thinking, are we going to see a movie? And everybody was dressed really nice that day, and I didn't know why, because, they always dressed nice, but everybody was just a little different than normal.
Yeah.
So we start going by the fountain, and he just kind of pulls my arm and stops me where we were, and just started telling me how much he loved me, which he's always very sweet to me anyway, so I thought he was just talking. And so I was just enjoying the moment, and then he got down on one knee and proposed.
Yeah. And one thing that I've learned and done different in this relationship is that it's important for me to be sensitive to her needs as far as her planning the wedding, and she's going to want to tell me about it and things like that. So I want to be able to be attentive and listening and not get frustrated whenever I'm asked questions or things like that.
And he's good at that, because I never, there's like the bride who wants to do everything on her own and doesn't want to include him in anything. And there's the bride that wants the groom to be, make every decision with her. And I understand that he's a guy, he's probably not going to want to do that with me, but I don't want to make him feel like he's left out either. So whenever I run ideas by him, or what are your opinions, he usually says, whatever you want to do. So then I do it, but at least I feel like I ask.
Well, and it just goes back to, I want her to have what we want, but I want her to have what she wants, and I want her to be happy. And just being able to try to do more for others than you do for yourself, and she's the most important person to me, so I want to be able to do more for her than for myself, and that means being sensitive to the things she wants and the things she needs and stuff like that. So if I could give any advice to newly engaged couples or someone who's thinking about getting engaged, is take a look at your life now as a single person and make sure that you see what it looks like, but then remember you have to re-examine that to say, here's what it's going to be like to have to supply for someone else and have to sacrifice for someone else and things like that. So I would just say to make those preparations and